Government spending that will leave you scratching your head. That's the topic of tonight's byline. We all know the government spends too much money. The current fiscal year, we're expected to see spending of about $270 billion. That's one heck of a dramatic rise since the Harper Conservatives took power. We've been over this several times, and really that number, $270 billion, is just too big for most of us to comprehend. I don't know about you, but I can't wrap my mind around what $270 billion actually is. I do understand $20,000. That's a pretty common amount, it seems, as well, for trips taken by senior bureaucrats to help them become better bureaucrats. Yep, trips ranging from 1 to 2 weeks that cost just a little bit less than, well, half of what the average Canadian makes in a year. Take Jean-Pierre Blais. He's the Assistant Deputy Minister for Cultural Affairs at the Heritage Department. He took a 2-week trip from Ottawa to Paris to Warsaw and then on to China as part of what's called the Advanced Leadership Program. Total cost, $19,266.31. Now, that's nearly half a year's salary for most Canadians, those that have jobs and are working. Nearly half a year's salary to send someone on training to 4 cities on the other side of the world so that he could be a better bureaucrat for the Heritage Department. Then there's Marie LeMay. She runs a little-known outfit, at least little-known for most Canadians. It's called the NCC, or National Capital Commission. The NCC is best known in Ottawa for getting in the way. Outside of Ottawa, they're known for things like running the skateway on the Rideau Canal. But they do look after more important things, such as buildings in the capital, like the Prime Minister's residence at 24 Sussex. Well, about a year ago, LeMay took a trip that took her from Ottawa to Calgary, then on to Chicago, Washington, Rio de Janeiro, and Brasilia, Brazil. Total cost, $21,745.86. Now that is an expensive trip. The program claims it has a reason beyond boosting the frequent flyer points for top bureaucrats. The program's website says that it provides relevant experience to senior public service leaders that challenge and expand their current worldview and allow them to gain insight into the world and thinking of top leaders. Well, I'm not too sure. It's tough to know if we're getting value for our money here. But let's look at what some people that normally love government spending are saying about this. Our own Chris Sims, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, called up the union that represents most civil servants. Here's what they said. We have members who are getting pink slips, so I want to know if this leadership program is subject to cuts too, and if not, why not? That was Public Service Alliance of Canada spokesman Larry Russo. It's a very good question. I mean, even the NDP told Post Media that this program was too expensive. Now, if the government's looking for cuts, this is an easy place to start. It's what Stephen Taylor from the National Citizens Coalition, a taxpayers watchdog group, if you will, it's what he called low-hanging fruit. And Taylor, by the way, is the one that revealed this program and the spending to us. Of course, this is low-hanging fruit, needs to be cut, would be easy to see it go. This program likely should go, but take a look at this list of government departments and agencies that I posted up on lillyspad.ca. I encourage you to go there and take a look. Are there any departments we could actually cut? I mean, get rid of completely. There are 225 of them listed here. Take a look and ask, what is there that government is doing now that they should not be doing? What can we do without? Our government is spending too much money. They should cut this junket program called the Advanced Leadership Program, do away with it. But the cuts need to be deeper than just picking this low-hanging fruit. And that's the byline. Joining us for more on this is Chris Sims, the reporter that broke the story in the Sun newspapers this morning. And you're following up on it today, Chris. Before we get into the government's reaction, break down what the Advanced Leadership Program is actually all about. Why does it exist? What is it supposed to do, other than expand the worldview?
It does a lot of worldview expansion. Just ask them on their website. Lots of words used there. Basically, this is the Canada School of Public Service.
Okay.
The Canada School of Public Service is an academy that teaches bureaucrats how to be bureaucrats. It can teach them language training, that sort of stuff, but also things like conflict resolution with their manager.
But and that's not a bad thing, having a training program. I mean, our own company, Quebecor, has a training section within corporate headquarters in Montreal People can go there. That's not a bad thing, helping people upgrade their skills.
No, that costs $105 million last year. They have campuses around. A part of that is this advanced leadership program. I finally found out how much it cost. $2.2 million spent last year on this fly around the world program for these top bureaucrats. And what I mean by top bureaucrats are like the CEO of the National Capital Commission. These are people who are just under the deputy minister level. They've usually got a lot of world experience already, and yet, according to the taxpayers, they're being flown around.
I want to get into Marie LeMay in a moment, but what has the government said? We've heard from the NDP, they call it too expensive. Public Service Alliance of Canada, the union representing the bureaucrats, says, hold on a minute. This better be under review. What's the government saying? Just
got off the phone with the Treasury Department. They phoned after reading my story, and they said, yes, the school itself is definitely part of the strategic review, the 5 to 10% savings everybody's expected to have for the next budget. And I said, well, what about this, fly-around program? This is $2.2 million hanging right there. She said, yes, it's possible that could be cut altogether in order to get between 5 and 10, and we'll have to wait for the budget to find out if it's going to survive. Okay, so we'll wait on that. Now, this Marie LeMay, I think we've got some numbers on her that we can bring up. This is the woman that heads the National Capital Commission. It's a very powerful body. Oh, absolutely.
In Ottawa, in the Ottawa-Gatineau region, but most people don't know anything about her. She participated in the leadership program, we said earlier, Calgary, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Brazil. $21,745. That was just one of her trips. She did others. You've been looking at her other expenses, though. What's travel and hospitality expenses, and what have you found there? Absolutely. Again, that was part of advanced leadership. Then I looked into her own expenses that she has to post legally on the NCC website. And what I found interesting was her hospitality expenses. A lot of times, it's right here, you can find it online, a lot of times she lists fellow employees as the reason for going out for lunch. For example, she spent $3.68 at the local Roast and Brew. That's the coffee shop, probably the one that's inside the building that her office is in. That's right, but she expensed it. She lists one employee. That's shades of David Dingwall throwing in his receipt for his chiclets. $3.68. We all buy our own coffee, or there's a coffee pot at work. Okay. Sure. So that's the small stuff that annoys people, but there's got to be something bigger. There's other things like spending almost $100 at the local coffee shop on 5 fellow employees and then expensing it. So $99.65. It's like going around the office and saying, "Anybody want coffee?" Adding up 5 people, going down, and then expensing that. I must be clear, these are tax dollars. This is not her own money. This is taxpayers' money, not government money, taxpayers' money. By expensing it, it comes out of the taxpayers. She also went to Wilfred's a couple of times. Wilfred's is the restaurant at the Chateau Laurier. It's a very, very fancy place. I have eaten there on other people's expense accounts. It's very nice. Food's okay, but so what's going on there? $50 for a working breakfast to discuss NCC. $50 breakfast with how many people? 1, and a fellow employee. So a lot of companies no longer allow you to expense lunches with each other. So, I mean, I could not take you out for lunch and expense it to the company. No. Even if we were talking business the whole time. Which we usually do. So, absolutely. But that would not be allowed. Why are they still allowing this in government? I thought we were getting rid of that. That's a good question. And the same thing from the Treasury Department. They said we're taking a very hard look at this. And to be clear, they list them always, whether or not it's an employee or guest. I'm not picking on the ones where it says guest, they're from out of town, you need to wine and dine. Maybe, and with a guest, maybe there's a good reason. And another one other one, 3 employees for a working dinner, milestones, $70. That actually seems reasonable compared to the rest. Sure. Chris Sims, thanks for checking this out. Now, I want to bring up, remember, 225, I added them up. You can find all the departments at lillyspad.ca, but take a look at this. This is why this is important. Our debt is continuing to climb as we speak. That is the National Debt Clock, brought to you by the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, right there. $16,797 for every man, woman, and child. That's why these pennies matter. That's why those departments have to be cut. Go to lillyspad.ca, check out the departments, leave your comments in there. We'll pass them on to Jim Flaherty. More to come.